Well, good morning. Welcome to Nashville. This is our hometown. Hi. Some familiar faces in the crowd. So I am Kimberly Ito. I am the Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer of Mitsubishi Motors. I've worked at the company for nearly 10 years, and I can honestly say I am more excited and more passionate about the brand than I ever have. And I'm going to share a little bit about why that is today. We knew about 5 years ago that we were doing some good things as a brand, as a company, but we needed to do some amazing, bold things if we wanted to ensure the success in our future. And so we decided to really start this transformation of our brand and our organization. So we relocated our headquarters from Southern California to here, Nashville, Tennessee. And ever since we relocated, there has been this energy within the walls at MMA. There's this buzz that you can just feel the minute you step inside. And we really have carried this momentum from the day we moved to today, and then our path forward. About a year ago, we then released our 5-year business plan. We call it Momentum 2030. And in that plan, we talk about our commitment to an expanded dealer network across the US, an expansive product lineup that'll grow over the next 5 years, and then an expanding organization with more resources and ultimately more retail sales. And while we've got a great plan ahead of us, I say all this to say we still, at the core of our business, are a challenger brand. We do not have the market share, the media budgets, or the resources like some of the larger automotive manufacturers do. And that's where we get to have a little bit of fun as marketers, right? So everything we do has to be intentional and has to have agility. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Everything that we go to market with includes intentionality and agility. And that starts with, our target audience. And so our target audience is really interesting because when we started, when I started working at the brand about 10 years ago, what I found was that our owner base was so unique, very unlike the other auto brands. So much so that you really have to think about what is the mindset of somebody who's buying a Mitsubishi. They're seeking out a unique brand. They're not buying a Toyota. They're not buying a Chevy. And they're doing that purposefully. But what is that mindset? And so we wanted to dig into that mindset a bit. And where we landed was the momentum makers. This is our target audience. So these folks are so driven. They have this really adventurous spirit within them. They're constantly learning. They're naturally curious. And they're always 5 moves ahead. So they're learning. They're leveling up again and again. And what I find interesting is while they're natural learners, they're seeking out information, they still value gut over convention, and they're looking for new opportunities to succeed in. So I call this our target audience. You'll notice there's no demographics here, and that's intentional. It's because we wanted to build out this persona and define the psychographics and behaviors of our target audience, and then find subsets within this target audience when we go to market so that we can be as efficient as possible. We don't have to boil the ocean. We don't have the dollars to do that. But find those niche audiences and grow our sales incrementally and intentionally. Now, just a little bit more about the brand and what guides us, because I think this is really important as you get familiar with Mitsubishi. What we stand for and what we deliver and promise to every single one of our customers is exceptional value. Some auto manufacturers stand for safety, some stand for performance, some want to be a thrilling ride, and we do all of that. We have award-winning vehicles that win safety awards. We win awards for styling, but what's more important than that is that we have amazing vehicles that are accessible to everyone. And it's this exceptional value, this overall value proposition that we want to offer to every single person out there. Because at the core, that's how we're gonna raise the bar, set new standards, and really kind of showcase our customer excellence. So 3 years ago, we launched the 2022 Outlander, and this was a game-changing vehicle for us. It was one of the most premium vehicles we've ever released. It is the most technologically advanced vehicle that we had ever released, and we knew we had something special here. So when we launched it, again, 3 years ago, it was the first time that we were making people turn heads. People were asking, whoa, what is Mitsubishi doing here? We got a ton of press coverage, new customers to the brand, some who had never considered Mitsubishi before, and we really wanted to generate a lot of buzz and awareness around the brand with this vehicle, and we certainly did that. So earlier this year, we had to launch the 2025 Outlander. And in this vehicle, it was similar to its predecessor, except it was even more premium and more advanced than the previous model. And so we really wanted to think about, okay, how do we differentiate this model from previous model year, but also from the competition? When you took a look inside, the cabin is very premium. The leather is refined. We've got this beautiful touch screen. It's bigger than 12 inches, the largest in the competitive set, and yet has crystal clear clarity. But the key differentiator for this vehicle is the Yamaha sound system. So you might be thinking, Yamaha, okay, I've heard of them. I think they make pianos, maybe keyboards. If you're a music fan, music head, you'll know that Yamaha is the audio engineering equipment in recording studios, right? But what we've done is created an exclusive partnership with Yamaha to bring their exceptional engineering technology into our vehicles. We are the only vehicle in this market to have this sound system in a vehicle, and we knew this is where we wanted to lean in. Now, knowing that we had our momentum makers target audience, we wanted to understand what is the opportunity with music lovers, with audiophiles. Could this be a subset that would give us scale and reach, but also the conversion that we needed? And when we took a look at the indices, it was clear that we had landed on something that could provide us the sales that we needed. Our audience, they were audiophiles. They were enthusiasts for music, whether they were streaming it around the clock, whether they were going to concerts and experiencing music live, or even playing musical instruments at home. Like, they were always centered around music, and that's when we knew, we had something to sink our teeth into. Now, when we thought about music and how do we kind of bring this to life in a campaign spot, music, we know, is a universal truth, is a connector, whether it's us connecting community, people, places. Think about the core moments of your life. There's typically a soundtrack that goes with those memories. And when you experience music, sometimes that venue where you're experiencing it is just as important as the music itself. So who can remember their first concert? nearly everyone. You remember the band or the musician, but you certainly remember where you saw the concert as well, right? And so iconic venues definitely transport you to these unforgettable moments, these moments that you have in your life. And that is the creative platform that we landed on, world-class sound, next-level venue. You know, world-class sound being the Yamaha dynamic sound experience that is offered through our vehicles, and then the next-level venue being this premium Outlander cabin that'll ultimately create these unforgettable moments in your life. Now, again, thinking about the strategy and bridging that to the execution. We could have chosen, you know, a track and just laid it to, you know, some footage of our vehicle kind of driving through the streets, right? But no, we again needed to be intentional in how we brought this to life. And we wanted the music to serve as the vehicle's pulse and really position the Outlander as this vehicle on wheels. So we thought, well, how do we make this kind of ownable and memorable? You know, we don't want to just take a track, any old track. What could we do with it? And we wanted to essentially reimagine it and put a classical twist on it. The classical twist would kind of match the premiumness of the vehicle, kind of elevate, you know, the music and just you know, explain or evoke the idea of premiumness in a fresh way. Because as a challenger brand, we're always having to think, how do we make it recognizable? How do we make it ownable? And how do we make it Mitsubishi? Again, we only have so many dollars, so every single impression has to count, and making it ours is critical to our plan. Okay. This is our 60-second spot, so have a listen. Sorry about that.
Some nights call for the grandest of stages. Other nights for something more special. Because sometimes the best seats aren't in the house. Introducing the new 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander with premium concert sound. A world-class venue wherever your journey takes you.
Thank you. Oh, no, okay. Well, did you recognize that track? Yes, okay. So if you didn't, it's Billie Eilish's Bad Guy. It is one of her, you know, first #1 hits. She won so many Grammy Awards for it. But this was the level of recognizability that we were going for. But you could also tell that we put this classical kind of modern twist on the track. And that came through with a partnership with a team named Black Violin. So Black Violin is a hip-hop duo. They're classically trained in string instruments, primarily the violin. But as we got to know them, it was so clear that this partnership with them made sense. You know, their ideas on how they wanted to bring the track to life and really speak to these audiophiles was just so creative. They also understood, you know, what levels within the track would hit nicely in the Outlander. And so it was just such a great partnership to work with them. But beyond that, you know, we got to know them personally. And they have such a big charitable kind of initiative giving back to the youth or the music youth community. They support music programs throughout the US. because those programs were so influential to them growing up, and they talk about this publicly. But it was just so kind of perfect to partner with folks who have similar core values to Mitsubishi and really extend this campaign beyond the music, right? Now we've got this emotional connection going. And right before the launch of the campaign, they had a concert here in Nashville at the Ryman Auditorium, an iconic venue. It was the first time that they were performing at the Ryman. It was one of their bucket list kind of venues that they had been hoping for their whole life. And, you know, yes, we had the Outlander there, and they performed the song, but what was most memorable about that evening was they had one of their previous music teachers come up and be recognized on stage with them. And then they also brought up one of the class of kids who had been part of this music program, just again bringing this kind of iconic venue together so that we can all experience this unforgettable moment as one. And I think that's just something that will always resonate with me and really captures how kind of emotional this campaign was for all of us that evening. Now, we did capture content, of course, with Black Violin. They were taking the Outlander before their concert, a day or two before the concert, and leading up to the concert in the Outlander. And so I'm going to show a clip of just some of the content that we captured with them. But again, as a challenger brand, it's important for us to think beyond the TV spot, right? How do we extend this campaign and give it legs in an organic way?
Ooh, she's bad. Man, that sounds, you hear that? Man, it sounds good in here. We sound real good in here.
It's crazy.
What happens if you find the thing that you love to do and you think about it in a different way? And if you do it over and over and over, and you present it to the world, you do something that you never think about as work.
We grew up in the 90s. Hip hop was such a huge influence. I was that kid at lunchtime beating on the table while the other kids rap. And I just heard music differently. So I went to the band teacher, I was really excited, and the string teacher's in the same room. Though we didn't see string players that not only looked like us, but string players that were doing things that were cool and different, you know, hip hop's like, hey man, do what you do. And that's kind of how we started, not thinking that we were going to do this for a living. It was just fun. 28, 29 years later, I'm still doing it.
So it is a 3-minute clip, and hopefully you captured that QR code, but you see there's intentionality and this emotional connection driven throughout every touch point of our partnership. Beyond that, we partnered with social influencers. We held a press drive event or a test drive event to which we invited media and these social influencers to get behind the wheel and experience the vehicle. It's one thing for the brand to talk about how great their product is, but it's another when a third party gives you that credibility. And so that was a big part of our earned initiative. We partnered with 2 auto influencers on the left, and then the influencer on the right was actually a music producer and DJ. And so, some of the sound bites that we captured from him, giving us their stamp of approval on our sound experience, really did kind of build that credibility around the vehicle. And then some of the comments that we captured from this campaign were really interesting because when you think about, partnering with any sort of influencer extends your reach organically, and the comments are coming from folks who probably haven't considered Mitsubishi before, maybe haven't really heard of Mitsubishi, and yet here they are kind of validating that our product, the value and the styling of the vehicle is just so impressive. Part of that press drive, we also captured some headlines. So this is just a snippet of all of the headlines that we got. Shout out to Media Post there in the middle. Tanya came and really enjoyed driving the Outlander, but you see there's this theme here of affordable luxury, right, or bargain luxury. Details make the difference. Again, it's the premiumness of our vehicle coming through naturally once you're behind the vehicle. Well, I keep doing that. And then lastly, you know, what we know about our target audience, these momentum makers, is, like I said, they're naturally curious. They want to learn more. They love to understand the process of how things are made. And so we felt like capturing behind the scenes content, showing them how the TV shoot happened, would really bring them in and engage them with our brand. And so here's some of the BTS that we captured that performed really well on social.
Hi everyone, we're here on the set for the 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander commercial.
And we are very excited about it.
All right, so we have earned media, we have owned media, but of course we have paid media as well. And so we're, again, targeted towards those audiophiles. But you see here our media plan, and these are just some of the partners that we worked with on the launch activation. It is a robust digital-first plan. Connected TV is a great way for us to scale and find the right target, find the right users at the right moment. We launched around March Madness, so we were getting in front of the live sports audience, which is great, but also was able to partner with Netflix, Paramount Plus, Hulu, just to name a few, through some private marketplace deals. And then this is just a view of what we had in the marketplace. You know, creative excellence is a top priority for us. Whether a consumer sees one of our ads or one of our dealer ads, we want to make sure that there's this seamless integration between us. So we work very closely with our dealer partners, providing them these assets so that they can utilize them in their local market. And that's, again, another way for us to amplify our voice in market as a small brand. And the results of the campaign, you know, speak for themselves. We're so pleased with how we went to market. We received over 1 billion earned media impressions, you know, exceeded all of our lead goals. Our search results were impressive. We performed a brand lift study in which we saw a brand lift, a huge increase in brand sentiment, and ultimately surpassed our total sales plan. So one way that we leaned into audiophiles with intentionality and agility to achieve our business objectives. And then the next example is the Outlander Trail Edition. So I talked to you about the Outlander. That's our more premium, elevated SUV. The Trail Edition is the rugged version of the Outlander. And this vehicle really does symbolize, you know, a new era for our brand, because we haven't delved into this rugged space previously. And so as we were doing our competitive audit, we wanted to understand, you know, where is the white space? Where can we play? You see there's a lot of sea of sameness, you know, lots of vehicles driving on rocks. And, you know, if that's what you do on the weekend, that is awesome. But surely there had to be a bit more that we could dive into, because again, our momentum makers are different, they're unique, and they're very intentional in how they spend their free time. So we dug into what their mindset was. Well, we know they're passionate about outdoors, they have active lifestyles, but they're also sports lovers, primarily of football. And what I really found interesting was that they're into charitable actions. They're giving back. They're active in their community. and looking for ways to donate. So this sense of community was important to them. Ultimately, they are redefining their idea of ambition. Ambition is no longer, a title at work or, buying a specific vehicle that symbolizes I've made it in life. Ambition to them is about personal growth. It's about the freedom to disconnect, and it's about striking balance between work, life, and well-being. And so that's exactly what we wanted to lean into. We wanted to position the Outlander Trail Edition as, their ambition redefined. And so let me play the 60-second spot for you.
The 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander Trail Edition. Ambition never rests.
All right, so in addition to being targeted with the audience and diving into those outdoor enthusiasts, finding the subset of our momentum makers, we were also very targeted in our paid media plan. So we first, we're precise in our proximity targeting around our dealerships, but then we also identified conquest opportunities across the US and kind of upweighted our media efforts in those key DMAs. And the best part is, while we saw an increase in engagements and search captures and search traffic, we saw a 56% increase in sales in those very specific DMAs. So I just wanted to say in closing, we are a challenger brand. This is a pivotal point for Mitsubishi. In everything that we do, we approach it with intentionality and agility. And when you marry data, strategic insights, creativity, and that emotional connection with your customers, great things can happen. Thank you.
Any questions from the audience? Right here. Okay, awesome. Tell us who you are and where you're from, please.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for your time. I'm Sherry from NP Digital.
Hi.
I wanted to know more about the Outlander launch, and you mentioned CTV for reach, but given the audiophile audience, did you do anything special or custom with Spotify, YouTube Music, like all the above there?
We did. So yes, we had a bespoke partnership with Spotify, and I think I had some stats on there. Click-through rate for Spotify was increased. We had lead-ins, bespoke audio kind of spots for Spotify too. We looked at a slew of audio partners, iHeartRadio, but ultimately, we found that most of our audience would be through Spotify, and so that's where we landed.
Okay, great, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
We've got one back here. Hi there, Matthew from Ally Financial, a fellow challenger brand. Curious on your creators approach when you were partnering with influencers, how you guys thought about balancing, like, with limited budget, going after bigger names that are a little bit more costly with the more niche but maybe a little less reach creators, and kind of how you struck that balance.
Oh, we have a huge kind of influencer partnership strategy. We work with our PR agency, and so there are certain criteria that we work within, whether it's follower count or reach. I think you saw there some of the influencers had 50,000 all the way to close to 1 million, and that's kind of our sweet spot. We know We, again, can't boil the ocean. We're not looking for influencers who have millions of followers. We're looking for influencers who have their curated audience, because that's how they're creating an emotional connection to their followers. And that's exactly what we want to do.
And last question over here.
Hi, Taylor Sutherland, 22 Squared.
Hey,
Okay,
Taylor.
can you hear me better now? Check, 1, 2. Yeah, Taylor Sutherland, 22 Squared. With Black Violin, was that partnership tied to your audience insights as well, as you were thinking about who you're going after, the music that they, listen to, all of those sort of things, and kind of what was that process in sort of making those decisions?
Oh, that is a great question, and that's a loaded question. So yes, we absolutely looked at quite a few music options that we could partner with. We wanted to really find the right group who aligned with us in terms of core values, who understood what we wanted to accomplish, who could understand the mindset of these audiophiles and the Outlander momentum makers. And then, of course, have some fun with it. The process is so collaborative when you're creating a track that already exists, right? Music is so subjective, but the partnership that we built over time with Black Violin, from really the first call to the end, it was natural and easy, and they wanted to be good partners as we did to them. So it came together beautifully. Thank you. All right. Thank you.